All right, let's jump straight into this explainer. We're going to look at why the trading industry's absolute obsession with finding the perfect entry is, well, it's exactly why so many traders fail at actually getting out. We see it everywhere, right? Everyone is just so fixated on that optimal entry, the one that catches the exact turn, that precise level that makes you feel like an absolute market genius. But here's the reality we're unpacking today. Getting in? That's literally the easy part. It takes one decision at one specific moment with a set of defined criteria. Boom, you're in. But managing what happens after that moment, that dynamic, psychologically grueling work of holding a position through all the noise, that is a completely different beast. And honestly, almost nobody is teaching it with the depth it actually needs.
Now, look at the stark contrast here. On one hand, you've got the entry. It's essentially a checklist, right? The decision is super binary. You wait for your level, check your criteria, and click. You're doing this in the calm, with a completely clear head. But then, there's position management. That is a non-stop, continuous series of decisions. Do I hold or adjust? Do I protect this or let it breathe a little? Add, reduce, close, stay? It's endless. And the kicker is, every single one of those decisions is made under the sustained, heavy psychological pressure of real money moving in real time. You're making these choices in the fire. Your mental energy is depleting, your adrenaline is pumping, and your brain is being totally skewed by the P&L flashing red and green on your screen. Your nervous system is literally wired to make you mess up in these exact conditions.
So consider this fundamental truth. A perfect entry that is poorly managed is just a losing trade. But an imperfect entry that is excellently managed, that is very often a profitable one. See, the industry sells you on the entry because it's exciting. It's a clean, easy-to-teach moment. But we really have to wrap our heads around the fact that the unglamorous, complex, deeply psychological work of managing the trade, that is where the money actually lives. The ultimate profitability of your trade doesn't come down to where you got in. It comes down to how you manage yourself and the position after the fact.
Section 1. The Stoic Navigator and the Art of Adjustment.
To really grasp dynamic action, I want you to think about how ancient Stoic philosophers viewed a ship's navigator. A good captain doesn't just, set a course at the dock, tie off the steering wheel, and go take a nap. They're constantly adjusting as the wind, the currents, and the weather evolve. The philosopher Marcus Aurelius called this acting with a reserve clause. Essentially, it's saying to yourself, I will do this unless something arises that makes doing it no longer the right action. When you apply that to trading, your entry just sets the intention. But management is executing that intention in the messy reality of live market conditions. And let's be real, those conditions will almost never perfectly match whatever you anticipated when you are calmly drawing up your chart.
So let's look at how this reserve clause actually plays out in the real world. Say your anticipated plan is to wait for a hard stop loss, but suddenly the market structure completely invalidates your whole thesis early. Well, a true Stoic navigator adjusts. You exit early, you don't do it out of panic or fear, but simply because the structural reason for the trade is gone. On the flip side, what if the price suddenly accelerates with massive velocity right through your predefined target? The Stoic response isn't to stubbornly sell just because you originally planned to. No, you hold beyond the target because the current market conditions are telling you to. A true Stoic navigator adjusts not with their emotions, but with the full, sharp attention of a mind that's tracking actual real-time conditions, rather than just blindly defending what they thought would happen.
Which brings us to Section 2, Building the Position Management Skill. Now, because position management is a completely separate skill from finding entries, you have to train it deliberately. You can't just assume, oh, I'm great at finding entries, so I'll naturally be good at managing the trade. It doesn't work like that. The absolutely crucial point here is that you need to define 3 specific decisions in the calm before the fire begins. Step 1. Define your invalidation condition. Like what specific, logical market structure event totally kills your thesis? Step 2. Define your partial exit condition. How are you going to lock in a result? And step 3. Define your full exit condition. Are you getting out when a target is hit, or maybe just when the trading session ends? These 3 steps create your map, and you've got to have them written down before you ever even think about clicking buy or sell.
Once you actually have that map, you have to practice navigating it. To build this skill, you need to practice strictly on a paper account, or literally the absolute minimum position size. Why? Because your goal right now is not profit, it's purely practice. You need to review the management itself, not the money you made or lost. Did you follow the plan, or did you deviate? And the absolute key here, this is huge, is to name every single feeling-based adjustment you made. Like, did you exit early just because you felt anxious? Did you hold on way too long because you got greedy? You have to document these precisely, because those feeling-based deviations, Those are your actual management errors, and they are exactly what you need to target in your training.
Over time, as you test and document these managed trades, you start building a specific rulebook. And this rulebook becomes your navigator's chart for adjusting to real conditions. It shouldn't be based on guesses, right? It should be built on the proven observation of your own actual behavior and the market's reality. You're going to clearly define the exact conditions for taking partials, the conditions for moving your stops to break even, the exact conditions for holding past your target, and the conditions for killing a trade before your stop ever even gets hit. Having this rulebook lets you adjust dynamically without ever abandoning the absolute discipline that keeps you safe.
I really love this analogy because it just perfectly captures everything we're talking about today. The entry gets you on the boat. The management determines whether you reach land. Just think about your own study habits for a second. You have probably been practicing getting on the boat for months, maybe even years. You know all the patterns, you've got the indicators, you see the perfect entry setups, but you have got to start practicing the navigation. Because honestly, the ocean simply does not care how clean your entry was. It only responds to how well you sail after you leave the harbor.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want you to do a simple, brutally honest audit of your own recent performance. Pull up your last 10 trades, just 10, and ask yourself this first question. How many of those trades had a highly specific written management plan established before the entry? Got a number? Okay, second question. How many of those trades were actually managed according to that exact plan from start to finish without a single real-time emotional deviation?
The gap between those two numbers you just came up with, that gap is exactly where your edge is leaking. It's not happening at the entry, it's happening out there in the rough ocean after it. That first number tells you how often you actually bother to bring a navigation chart with you. The second number tells you how often you actually have the discipline to follow it when the wind starts howling and the waves get high. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought. Are you going to keep obsessing over how you leave the harbor, or are you finally ready to master the art of sailing the sea?